And here we come to the end of the line, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to what was our weekly World's Finest Assassin Gets Reincarnated in Another World as an Aristocrat discussion videos. Bam! First try on the last one. But with that said, we're here to talk about the finale, episode 12, Battle of Assassins. But before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, set notifications to all, let all of AnyTube know that you were here. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And yeah, this is the end. This is actually the end. So it's bittersweet, because this episode I felt was a really strong one to leave on. I think there's a lot to like. There's some stuff I didn't like. I feel like you guys are gonna know what I didn't. But I thought that overall this was such a strong episode to end on. I was very, very impressed. And I want to start talking about all the things that Lug was doing correct until it suddenly went south, right? So we get Count Vicone meeting, Lug for the first time and saying like, oh, I didn't even know Dia had any concept of love. Seems you're gonna be taking her away in more ways than one, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, about that, right? Like Lug's like, yeah, about that. So they have this whole sort of conversation about what the plan is. And Count Vicone, by the way, is a boss. This man is a G. Essentially says like, okay, here's the plan. I'm gonna walk outside and I'm going to hold this army off solo. And I'm like, damn. Giving his men just enough time before he too slips away. But in order for him to do that, he needs the plan with Dia to still be enacted, which means Dia still has to fake her own death, right? So Lug's like, okay, I got it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have it so that we set this place on fire. But before I do, I'm gonna have Dia explain that she doesn't want people to fight over her and that she's sorry that this has happened and that she's gonna unalive herself, right? And this plan would have been flawless, right? They do have like the body of the other soldier there, so it would have been flawless. Like this actually was a legitimately solid plan. I was impressed, right? Like everything up to that point is correct. And then, in a scene that really reminded me of a scene from No Way Home, that I won't spoil for you, but Lug has, like, his spider sense go off, right? It's like, uh-oh, something's wrong, right? Like, and he just gets that feeling, like, something's not right, there's something off here. And so he's sort of, like, sussing out the situation, and then this is where the plan takes a turn. This is where things, unfortunately, don't go our boy's way, because as soon as he sees it, just bam, there it is. Gaybolg comes flying through the air and lays waste to everything. Like we see everything fall apart, right? Like Gaybolg comes flying out, and then like lasers of magic shoot out of Gaybolg and like start hitting enemy soldiers, and then it goes careening through Dia's room and like just shatters the thing. Thankfully, like Count Vicone, Dia, and Lug are all okay. I could have sworn Count Vicone was gonna die there. But yeah, like everybody's good, but then Gaybolg goes flying back and lands in the hand of Setanta Magnus, aka the Cran's Hound, aka Cuchulainn. That's Cuchulainn, right? Like the Cran's Hound, that's Cuchulainn. Magnus is meant to be an analog for Cuchulainn. Because the whole thing is very, like, Celtic. Like, this whole world is very Celtic, right? Keep that in mind for the ending, holy crap. But, yeah, so we see Setanta Magnus, the Cran's Hound. And Lug deduces that in order for him to have the skills he has and to be wielding Gaybolg, that's gotta be the hero, right? And I also was like, that's gotta be the hero. So we thought. But yeah, that's what I had assumed. That's what like Lug assumes. Like I was like, okay, that's the hero, and then Lug eventually figures out too, like, okay, that's got to be the hero. In order for him to wield like this level of skill, that's got to be the hero. And the weirdest thing too is that when the battle starts to kick off, right? Because we do actually get a battle in air quotes between Lug and Setanta. And I'm just gonna call him Magnus because Magnus is a much cooler name. But the Cran's Hound, right? We see Magnus and Lug face off, and the goddess is watching, and she like smirks, and I'm like, why is she grinning? She's like grinning at this, like that evil sort of goddess grin that she has, and I'm like, why is she grinning? But it's it's definitely a hell of a way to finish this season, because like Magnus shows up, and with Gay Bolg, he's shown Gay Bolg plus Berserker, like he's shown to be holy shit unstoppable, right? Like this dude is like a tank. He actually takes an anti-tank rifle hit right to the face, right? And he does, like, he's bleeding, right? He's like, you made me taste my own blood for the first time in my entire life. Like Magnus has like some real sort of One Punch Man levels of like he has that Saitama level of like, I just want a good fight type thing. And he tells him like, you come out here and fight me and duel me, or I will just destroy everybody here, and then I'll kill you, and then I'll get her, right? And then Luke's like, okay, so if I duel you, you walk away. And Magnus is like, absolutely. You duel me and you win, I will walk away. I will send my troops away, I promise, right? Like, if I lose, my troops will leave. I'll give you my word, right? And so Magnus is like, let's do this, right? And Luke's like, okay. So Luke does this thing, right, where he makes this sort of like, I forget what they call it, like tungsten? I forget like the name of the metal, but he makes the metal, and then he sends it all the way up to orbit, right? Using, by the way, a Spellweaver spell from like all those episodes ago. Like we flash all the way back to like episodes like 2 or 3 or 1, 2 or 3. I don't remember. Like all the way back to the beginning of the show. All that time later, it comes back in the form of what is essentially an orbital strike. An orbital strike, right? Like sends these things all the way up, right? And Luke says that, judging by his calculations, this thing would hit with about 111 times the power that he just hit Magnus with in terms of that anti-tank rifle. Like, this would be 111 times harder, right? And I'm like, holy shit, that's big. Like, he essentially drops a nuke on this guy, right? Like, and so basically Luke sets this up where he's like, okay, Luke is clever about it, right? So he's like, yeah, sure, let's fight. Okay, cool. So you gotta promise me, right? You're gonna promise me? Magnus is like, yeah, I promise you. And he's like, okay, what happens if you win? And blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, what happens if I win, right? Like Luke is like, all right, yeah, let's do this. You want to go? Like, just stalling, right? Luke's just purposely stalling for time just to be clever. And you know the goddess is like, that's my boy. The goddess is like, hell yeah, I knew I chose wisely. But the only thing that I'm like, okay, she's smirking at this, right? But that wasn't the hero. Seemingly. Right? That seemingly wasn't the hero. Right, so I don't know why she was grinning while watching that. It has me very curious. But anyway, the spell is called Gun Gear, and essentially was made specifically for assassinating the hero. The reason for that, do you remember the trip to the island forever ago that we were all like, what the shit are they doing on an island? That was for this. That was all training for this moment. Like, that's nuts to me. I just think that that's so crazy. But yeah, it was like just... This whole moment was sick. Like when like the thing drops, like, because what we see is like the coin flip from, like, you know how like he does the coin flip every so often, and it's like, yeah, that's like Luke's thing is the coin flip. We see it in the OP, we've seen it a few times in the anime, like when he does the coin flip. So he flips the coin up and he's like, as soon as the coin drops, that's when the fight starts. And as soon as the coin, like, I think the coin drops even before this thing hits. So as soon as it, oh no, I think it's just before it hits. That's when, or the coin hits the ground. That's when the tungsten thing drops, right? The orbital strike happens. Orbital. I keep saying orbital. The orbital strike happens like just before it hits the ground. So it's it was just crazy. Like the way this thing hits, like you see it from far away, and then it flashes back, and then you see like what the plan was, and then you see like essentially just before it hits, Luke pulls up a shield and just like desperately tries to fight back against this thing. So he's like holding this thing back as best he can because he knows it's coming. Magnus did not. Magnus did not know that was coming. So Luke had time to prep a sort of defense, right? But he still gets rocked. Like our boy gets like absolutely messed up by this. But he does get the happy ending in the form of, you know, living and the whole Dia thing. So allow me to say something very quickly. So the pair kiss, which like y'all know how I feel about the Dia and Lug ship. I think it's not... I just think it's kind of gross, but that's a me thing. If you like it, then you like it. And you know that I would have absolutely have not said anything otherwise, right? Like, I would have just said, like, ew, not for me, but if you guys ship it, that's fine. Because, look, a ship's a ship, right? It's fictional, right? Like, so I am allowing that to happen because, first of all, World's Finest Assassin fans are, like, miles ahead of... People are gonna think I'm screwing around, but this is truthful. The fans who watch World's Finest Assassin are much more calm and open to discussion about whether or not Lug is like 70-something or he's like 15, right? Because to me, your mind, your personality makes you a person, not your body, right? But like World's Finest Assassin fans were like, that's interesting, JoJo. What truly makes a man, right? Like what makes human, right? What makes us human, right? Like what makes us a person, right? Like we've had genuine conversations in the chat and it never gets bad, right? Like I'm like, cool, like World's Finest Assassin fans willing to have a discussion and also just be like, we'll agree to disagree, right? It's like, cool. And that's why I'm like, you may have your ship because I know that you're not like weird about it. You're just like, I don't really see it that way. And I think they're cute. And I'm like, fair enough. If I didn't see it that way, I would probably also think Dia and Lug are pretty cute. In fact, I'd probably ship it. But for me, I just see Lug as an old dude. So when I see it, I'm like, I don't like that, right? I don't like that. I don't think Lug should be hooking up with anybody until he's like in his 20s. That's just me. But I know that you guys respect and understand that. Unlike Mushoku Tensei fans. And that's the thing that I was like, people are going to think I'm crazy, but genuinely think the fandom for World's Finest Assassin is superior to Mushoku Tensei, and I like this show a hell of a lot more. There it is. There it is. I'm sure people are going to be like, what? There it is. But I will say, just when I was like, you know what, that's fine. I'm not a personal fan, but you know what, I won't even say you. I'm just gonna say I'm not a fan. And then they made him his adopted sister, and I was like, like, why are you doing this? Ew. Like, I wouldn't have said ew if it wasn't for that scene. I was very willing to just be like, you know what, guys, I might not like it, but you do you, guys. And then they were like, we will hide her as your adoptive sister. I'm like, okay, now I gotta say ew. Now you make me say ew. Stop it. Like, and okay, here's the thing. I know you guys, and we've talked about the Maha thing already, where we're like, why'd they make her his sister? Right? So I know you guys are gonna be like, God damn it! Like, why did you do that? But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, it's just weird. Like, because they're not blood related or anything, but it's weird. You know, it's weird. Well, they're also cousins, right? It's weird. Stop it. Stop doing that. But that's the thing, right? So everything just kind of goes back to normal, right? Life kind of moves on as normal, right? And we also see Lug like building a pistol, which I thought was interesting, right? And then something kind of pulls his attention, but the credits roll before we see what it is. But we see that life is pretty much returned to normal. You know, Lug's training with Tart again. Maha's still taking care of the shop. We see his adoptive like merchant family. They're still hard at work. Everything's going well over there. Everything seems to be going well with Dia. Everything's seemingly good, right? Like everything's in a good place. However, Kian tells us some information that is shocking, and that's where we see this person. And the thing that we find out is that Setanta, aka Magnus, aka the Kran's Hound, aka Cuchulainn the Hound, was not the hero. What? Unless they are the hero and this is a ruse and that Magnus is actually alive? Because I will say, I was kind of expecting him to walk out of that hole. Like, I'm not gonna lie. But I guess Magnus was not the hero, right? Because my thinking was like, that was crazy, right? But is this gonna be a fake out? Like, I thought it was gonna be a fake out, but it's like, no, this is the fake out. That Magnus wasn't even the hero. It was this person. By the way, their name, Epona Rhiannon. Rhiannon. I always mispronounce this name. Rhiannon. By the way, Rhiannon is a character from the Welsh, pantheon of characters. Like, it's a Welsh, myth, right? Which in turn is based off, you guessed it, Celtic mythology again. This whole thing is Celtic. By the way, Rhiannon is connected to Epona, another Celtic deity, right? And if you're wondering, yes, Epona is the namesake of the horse in Zelda. And Rhiannon, by the way, means goddess. Epona means horse, essentially meaning horse goddess. So Rhiannon is here as the hero, introduced as the hero. And if I might do a very quick design time, because it's hard to do, because I don't usually do design time if I only see the face. I need like the whole design. But I will say, based off what we see, very quick design time, if I can guess the character, right? So the color palette, right? Very shocking color palette. Very vibrant outside of like the eyes, but even the eyes are just sort of shocking, right? So the hair is like very bright. Like everything about Rhiannon is very like bright colors, right? Like very vibrant. And I believe this is indicative of a very like engaging personality, right? It's like they're shocking. Like when you see them, it's sort of like it catches you off guard. You're like, whoa, right? Like the palette's like very shocking in the way that meeting the hero of your whole world would be rather shocking, right? So I think the color palette was very well chosen. And the blue, like almost sort of like reddish, like light reddish, almost sort of auburn eyes, I think is a signal that they have a very secure but inviting spirit, right? Because blue is typically associated with security, and like red, not really so much like inviting, but the auburn color, like almost, because auburn's kind of like part of that like brown, like reddish brown family of colors. I think it's like a inviting and like sort of engaging, fiery type spirit, right? The secure but inviting spirit, because the auburn like being part of the brown family, right? Like the brown color family, right? Like brown as a color is sort of like meh. Keep in mind, brown being, when I say brown is kind of a boring color, it's not meant to be a knock, right? When I say brown eyes are typically kind of associated with being boring, it's not so much boring as much as just sort of like, boring's kind of harsh, right? It's more of sort of like, I don't want to say basic because that's also harsh. Like boring is sort of like, you know how hobbits like sort of like hobbits are associated with brown, right? Like they love all things that grow, but they're also, they like comfort and like mundanity, and they like the same thing, like they like the same old, right? That's brown. Like brown is sort of like a like boring if not comforting color, right? Like when I say boring, I mean like they're comforting, right? Like brown is sort of like dependable, right? You rely on the color brown, right? Like brown is the color of the earth. We rely on the earth for food, right? Like brown is associated with sort of like reliability. It's a strong color. It's bold, right? Like brown is also associated with wood, right? We build our houses, right? We plant things in brown, right? Like in the earth, right? So brown has always been a color often associated with dependability, right? It's dependable. You can rely on it. And that's sort of what I get from Rhiannon, is that the blue in the eyes is a sort of signal to their security. They're strong. They're maybe a bit cold when it comes to possibly like how they handle themselves in wartime. They're a bit cold, a bit calculating, but you have to be when you're a hero of your world, right? But the auburn in the eyes is also secure, right? Also, auburn's probably one of the prettiest of the brown colors, right? So it's very striking. It's a much more striking shade of brown, right? But it's also like secure, confident, right? Like because it's got that little splash of red, right? It's secure, confident, right? But also dependable. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Plus, Rhiannon as a character is usually seen as like confident and strong, but like kind, right? So it's like I can kind of see it. That said, I'm still shocked that Magnus wasn't the hero, and I don't know it. Getting an introduction to Rhiannon at the end here does tell me that we're probably likely to get a season 2, and if we do, you know I'm coming back. But yeah, I was just sort of caught off guard because I'm like, okay, you wouldn't end it on a cliffhanger unless you're really sure we're getting a season 2, because if you do that, everyone's gonna be mad if you don't get a season 2, you know? So that's a bold move. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it works out for them. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thanks so much for watching these videos. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And hopefully I will see you guys next season with something. I'm covering pretty much a show every day. So hopefully I'll see you guys next season. Until then, y'all take care of yourselves. outro. And there you have it, everybody. That is gonna wrap it up for today's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and set notifications to all. Let all of AnyTube know that you are here. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and check out our Discord so that you can actually be notified when new videos go up. And of course, you'll also be notified when we're streaming over on the other website that starts with a T. On top of being the best way to get notified for new videos, it's also a good place to discuss with fellow anime fans and stuff like that. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and join us over on the Discord, link down in the description. Also linked to the description is our Patreon page, and that, along with the join button right beside the sub button, are great ways to help keep this channel afloat. You will find our Patreon page. For as little as $1, you can help keep this channel running. And of course, a big thank you I have to give to our masters of masters, the true legends: Asaki VT, Elizabeth Just Elizabeth, JCran23, Jeremy P, Matt87 Eagle, Shadow Creative, Shiorans, Stephen G, Stevie W, Trapmaster, Trevor W, and Tristan G. Thank you all so much for being so freaking cool. I really love and appreciate all of you guys for your tremendous support of this channel. And if you too would like to have your name shouted out at the end of videos, once again, go check out that Patreon link in the description or hit the join button right beside the sub button. Either way helps out a ton. And that's it for me. So until next time, clean your room. Just trust me, a clean room is a clean mind. Maybe do some Tai Chi. Maybe drink lots of water and brush your teeth. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.